Hey guys, we're back for another Logan Hall Grill stream. It's actually a bit of a rainy Saturday here in Nashville. Thankfully, most of the rain has already passed, so I don't think it'll affect the streaming all too much. But anyway, today what we're doing is we're gonna focus on how to grill a thin steak versus something that is thicker, right? Um, so first, let's just define what a thin steak is. I like to define a thin steak by anything that is 1 inch or less. Um, so again, sort of anything that's above an inch, sort of inch and a half, 2 inches, maybe even up to 2.5 inches. That's what I would call a thicker steak. And there are two different methods that you need to consider when 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 grilling your steaks here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the camera here, and let's just first do a quick sort of tour. So again, I have the Joe going. I up not too long ago. So here I have like a cast iron sort of grate here. So that's very good for hard searing, and then I just have like a second sort of rack up here for when we're done grilling the steak. And in case it's not quite up to temperature yet after resting, then what we'll do is we'll just kind of put it on that rack there to kind of bring it back up. But anyway, that's going in there. And sorry for the AC in the background. There's really not too much I can do about that, um, but again, hopefully, you guys can still hear me okay. Um, so in addition to the steak, what we're doing is we're going to actually make what's called a chimichurri sauce. Um, so what that is I believe it originated in like in South America somewhere, maybe it's a Brazilian or something like that. But again, we're not. Again, sorry. Like it sounds like my neighbor's AC just went on too. So again, hopefully, 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 like you guys can hear everything okay. But again, uh, just let me know if like I need to like to speak up anymore, or again, sorry, if it's good, sort of where it is right now. Um, Before we get into the chimichurri, I'll just go ahead and show you the steak of choice today. Um, so this is the steak that we're going to be grilling today. This is a American Wagyu that I picked up from Walmart. Shout out to Mathis. And again, Mathis kind of told me about this this sort of sort of secret really, because you can pick up Wagyu at Walmart now. Again, sort of Wagyu and Walmart may not necessarily go together. Like you don't often hear those two words go together often, but there's a distinct difference between American Wagyu versus Japanese Wagyu. So I'll kind of walk through what that is here. So basically, if you ever heard of Wagyu, oftentimes it comes out of Japan, right? And what are what are Wagyu cows? So Wagyu cows are essentially cows that are grown in a very specific part of Japan, and they're fed very specific diets to essentially get get a good sort of fat content in them. So like there's intramuscular fat and intermuscular fat. So inter means that it's actually running running sort of in the actual grains itself, right? So it's sort of like again, so what's it's like the fat that is actually sort of inside the meat itself. Now this right here, that is sort of like the intramuscular fat. And again, this is still good and everything, but again, it's important to know sort of that sort of a distinction as well. But now this is a American Wagyu steak. So how does that differ from Japanese Wagyu? So Japanese Wagyu is much more marbled. And here, let me actually just kind of tilt this down so that I'm not having to kind of hold that up all the time. But anyway, um, American Wagyu is essentially something that sort of developed over in the last maybe 10 to 15 years, I would say. Once Wagyu beef got, very popular and sort of like the word was out from Japan, um, I think the Americans wanted to essentially, catch on to that phrase and essentially try to capitalize it sort of here in the States. So essentially, uh, I think American Wagyu is really just more of a marketing term that was created to advertise steaks that are, or steaks from cows that were raised in America that are fed again a specific diet to make the fat sort of more sort of even throughout. But but again, it's nowhere near what a what it's like a Japanese Wagyu steak would be. Now, you've also heard of Kobe beef. Again, Kobe is just another sort of breed of cow uh, that is that again, it's fed a very specific diet. It's like it's in a very specific part of Japan. Uh, you might see that at the store as well. But again, again, it's just important to sort of understand the distinction between what what the Japanese Wagyu is versus an American. Let's go ahead and read some of the chats here before we get into the actual cooking and sort of prep part. Mathis is with us. Hey Mathis, how you doing, man? Thank you for support. We got Kevin in here, Johnny O from Chicago. Um, let's see. We also have Jen G. We have Eddie Mao, and then we also have Mr. Tudor to you. Hey, Mr. Tudor to you. Thank you for being another Nashville brother. We definitely have to meet up sometime, man. I definitely want to see that blue chrono sometime in the future. Today I am, you know, well, okay. So my, I don't actually have this sort of on my wrist right now, but like I do have my date just today. Um, I'm not wearing it just because like I don't want to like bang it up like while I'm cooking and whatnot. I mean, especially when I'm like grilling sort of outside. There's a lot of sharp edges and whatnot, and I don't necessarily want to rough it up. But again, this is what I was wearing before I started the stream, so figured I would do a quick sort of a watch check there. So I think we've gone through all the main components here of I guess sort of like the background, sort of what this is. Again, one more thing that I'll just kind of show briefly here is this is roughly about 1 inch thick. So for thinner steaks like this, and this also includes like you can sort of like you can sort of like Genji was mentioning. A flat iron steak is also like a thin steak, flank steak, skirt steak. Those are all what I would call thin steaks. And typically you will find these thinner steaks at the grocery store. If you want, something that's a bit thicker, like you might have to go to like a bit of a nicer grocery store like Whole Foods, or even go to your local butcher shop. It's highly recommended that you make a good sort of relationship with your butcher if you end up grilling often, right? So there's a great butcher that's literally 3 minute drive from my house, and he's great. He has some really nice cuts. A little bit on the pricey side, but again, you but again, I mean, I've never felt that the quality of the steak didn't match the price. So anyway, that's a lot of blabbing here. Let's see, Mr. Tooch, you awesome presentation with the greens. Thank you. Yes, we will be chopping those up in just a moment. So again, and again for sure, knock out some beer. I mean, I'm really not a big beer guy. I actually like more wine, sort of whiskey and cocktails and whatnot. Um, the only time that I drink beer is actually like if I'm with a group at like a football game or like any kind of like sporting event. I'll typically like grab a beer there, but it's not something that I actively seek out and like have. Um, Gen question: do you get your meat from Porter Road Butcher? No, but 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 again, they are a very popular sort of butcher that I think has locations physically as well as online. Um, I did buy a brisket from them one time. The very first brisket that I did, um, I believe I bought it from them. And it was fine. But I think ultimately, Costco is probably your best bang for buck in terms of price versus sort of quality. Um, Now the thing with brisket is like you don't necessarily have to get like a prime brisket for it to be good. Like even a select or sort of choice. Well, okay, let me say this: uh, a brisket that is a select, probably. Sorry, so I mean I'm trying to remember. So like there's three grading levels of sort of meat products here in the U.S. There's select, choice, and prime. I believe select is the lowest, and then you have choice, and then you have prime. Um, Personally, I wouldn't bother with a select brisket, but you can you can do a choice brisket like it's gonna be sort of perfectly good. But uh, you know the sort of like the law of diminishing returns is very present with brisket. Like a prime brisket is not going to be 1,000 times better than a choice brisket, right? Or sorry, a select brisket. So again, you can stop at a select and like it's going to be perfectly fine, honestly. Um, but again, thank you guys for the questions. Again, I do appreciate the engagement and whatnot. If you're enjoying this show so far, I would encourage you to leave a like and a thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed, I would recommend that you also subscribe and turn on the notifications all the way so that you get notified when I stream. So with that preamble out of the way now, let's go ahead and actually start prepping uh, what we have here. I'm going to put this off to the side and I'm going to make sure that you guys have a good view here of what I'm doing with the prep. Um, it's probably pretty good. And then I'll just kind of leave the steak right there getting ready. Um, One thing that I forgot to mention, um, typically with steak, I like to let it sit on the counter from the fridge for at least 30 minutes before I um, grill it. So this kind of brings it up to room temperature. You never want to grill a steak that it's literally straight from the fridge. It's kind of a shock to the steak. Like not like the steak has like any sort of feelings or anything, but again, it's kind of like throwing like boiling hot water on a icy windshield, right? Um, so it's not a good idea to do that. Um, and again, I would say that it sort of depends on the thickness of the steak. If it's a thicker steak, you can typically leave it out sort of longer. Maybe like 45 minutes to like an hour 15 minutes. But for something that's sort of like this, um, can sort of 30 minutes like is fine too. Um, but anyway, let's talk about the chimichurri here. So again, I think I mentioned this earlier, but chimichurri is kind of a Brazilian uh, type of sauce that it essentially contains some peppers, chili, and then a lot of greenery here. So I've got cilantro, I've got parsley in here. Um, there's also a lime hiding out in here as well. One thing I just realized there's a lemon in the fridge. Let me go grab that real quick. Thank you for being patient. Again, we have the lemon here. I also brought a fork. I will show you why I need the fork here in a moment when it comes to lemons and limes and whatnot. But let's go ahead and let's do the bell peppers first, like the chilies. So the reason why we're doing these first is we're actually going to char these on the fire. Um, so just to give it a little bit more flavor. So I really should have brought a like a bag or something that I could just toss the unwanted stuff in. Let me just grab a quick bowl just to toss this in, and I'll be right back. Bowl acquired. Let me go back around real quick just to make sure you guys are still there. Sometimes we have the issue of essentially me being kicked out of the stream, unfortunately. So, but it looks like I'm still here. There used to be a good butcher shop downtown Franklin at one point. Jen. Yes, yes. Uh, the name, the name right now is escaping me. But I do know what you're talking about. I've at least passed by it before, but again, I don't know if I've ever been. But yes, yes. I do remember that you mentioned that like you used to live in Nashville, which is pretty cool. Have I ever grilled picanha? Yes. Now picanha, you can grill it several different ways. What I like to do is have a spit and just have it sort of constantly, constantly sort of rotating. Under or sort of over charcoal, I should say. Um, now, I haven't actually done that on stream yet, but that's definitely a good idea. Thank you for the idea, Mr. Tutor. To you, Mr. G. What's going on, Sean? Thank you for joining here. In case you're just joining us, what we're doing right now is we're um, prepping the sort of the chimichurri sauce. Now, one thing that I like to do just to sort of amplify the flavor a little bit is I like to kind of char the red sort of pepper um, over over the flame a little bit. Um, so what I'm doing right now, and again, this probably isn't like the best sort of angle, but I'm getting sort of this white stuff out because this doesn't really provide much flavor. I believe it's called the pith, spelled Pith, I think. Um, or I might be totally making that up, but again, I try to sort of you know take that out here. Um, okay, so I already did this one. We also have this one too. What? Yeah, let's do this. Let's put all these off to the side here, and then we'll do this other one as well. Guys, tell me if this is a good angle. Do I need to come in a little bit closer? Um, because I can try to move the camera a little bit closer. I kind of wish that like I had like a GoPro that was sort of on my head that you could see sort of like a sort of like a downward view from. So that may be something that I invest in later on. But all right, so we're gonna toss that. Um, Take that out. So yeah, I think those are actually pretty good. Um, what we're going to do now, we're actually going to switch to the grill briefly, and we're going to get these charred up. So what I'll do, You know what? Let me grab one more plate here to put these on, and then also when you're charring pepper, if you have a paper bag, um, those are good to keep around because what's going to happen is when we grill this, the the skin is going to be charred, but we're actually going to take off the charred skin, and what's left is the actual pepper itself that is now sort of infused with sort of charcoal flavor. Um, and so then we'll kind of slice that like and dice that, and then sort of put it into the sauce. Um, so I actually don't have a paper bag with me. I'm a I'm a I'm a sort of like a uh, plastic sort of bag guy when I go to the store. So I'm terrible for the environment. But let me go grab something that I can put these in afterwards, and something to put these on as we put this into the grill. So I'll be right back. All right. So when they're done grilling, I'm just going to put this in here, and then we're going to close that up. But the idea is you want it to be sort of humid, so that the skins kind of like comes off, comes off, comes off sort of easily and sort of sort of on its own. Basically. But let's go ahead and put these on here, um, and I'm going to come back around just to make sure we are still in the room. Okay, yes, I'm still in the. Okay, good. I'm still in the show. That's always good. I'm intrigued by the chimichurri. Yeah, you. I mean, well, so yeah, so I'll definitely sort of walk you through sort of all of it here today. Like, there's different variations. Some people use other herbs. Like some people will even throw in some basil in there. I do actually have a basil plant, kind of in the background there. But again, I will show you that a little bit later here. So um, let's go over here now. Now, again, like the coals are getting nice and hot there. One thing you should do when the grates are hot, you need to like scrape here because again, like there's all this buildup from the last time that you grilled, and it's best to do that when you have hot grates because it comes off easier. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put my hot glove on, and we're going to kind of scrape this down first, but then we're going to put this, sort of very close to the fire and get the sort of red pepper grilled up. So give me 1 second. Safety first. So let's get all this previous gunk off. And we'll kind of do the same up here as well. Again, I mean, you're really not going to get sort of the whole thing off, but again, just sort of getting that sort of base layer off is a good practice. So what we'll do now, we're going to bring in the red peppers, and I just realized I don't have my tongs out here. So let me go grab those real quick, and then I'll come back. Got the tongs. So Mr. G has a question: how to get good quality of meat? That's a really good question, Mr. G. If you have a local butcher, it's good to establish again, they carry sort of nice meats. I mean, great. If your local butcher doesn't carry like nice quality meats, you can actually just talk to them, and they they will sort of likely have some connections that you can sort of reach out to, or they might have like their own suppliers that like maybe they don't carry often because they're afraid that like maybe they won't sell as well, but they likely have connections that can like do like a custom order for you to get something nice. Now, again, I would personally say that like a good quality meat is like prime and over. But again, prime is sort of the highest that you can get in. Or what? Sorry, prime grade meat is the best that like the U.S. sort of makes, right? Again, so it's like there's also some like there's also it's like there's also like American Wagyu as well. So that's what we're cooking up today. But typically, you know, I would say anything that's prime or over, some like is good quality meat. Again, prime Kobe beef, as well as a Wagyu. Um, but again, there's going to be some situations where sort of like the seems like the choice or select will be good too. Um, but one thing I want to do before I put these in, I'm just going to spray this with a little bit of olive oil. So, all right. So let's go ahead and put these down. All right. So we'll kind of drizzle some of the oil on there too. But again, this really shouldn't take too long. Sorry, guys, you might not be able to see all that, but yeah. So again, so the purpose of me doing this is we're just going to get a char on the red peppers, and then we're going to immediately throw those into, again, you can either use a paper bag or you can use some plasticware, but again, something that you can put into and you can close it up, sort of close it up with a lid, basically. Um, so again, let's see. So Kyle D said on the brush. Satan said, well, so a wire brush can damage, I guess sort of some grades. But again, these are sort of still grades here, so they they can be sort of put up to like the test here. I'm gonna change the angle here just so that my phone doesn't get overheated. But I think this is a. Oops, I almost lost my brush there. Okay, I think that's a decent angle. So let's start to see how these are looking. So getting some spots there. Again, we definitely want sort of more on there. Let's see, we're starting to get that. All right. So that's kind of what we're looking for here. We definitely want the there's some like the char factor going. So that's starting to look good as well. Not so much on that one, so we'll have to go a bit longer. But again, we have some there. Again, so notice that like I'm really only focusing on the skin side here. Sorry. Sorry, I mean, looks like you might have heard from a little bit of like my neighbors and cars and whatnot. So sorry if that was a little bit loud. But again, I'm only focusing on the skin side here. I'm not gonna like flip these over like and do the other side. I'm only focused on getting the actual like the skin side char. Um, so let's close that up for. Well, actually, you know what? We really don't need to close that up because again, closing kind of makes it into sort of like an oven, and we're not really focused on cooking these necessarily. Again, we're only focusing on getting a char here. Um, so while we let those finish, let's just see if there was. Oh, we got OC in the house. Hey, OC, thank you for your support as always. I ate early today. Glad I did, as Logan won't be done until OC. It's actually funny that you say that. So like, it's like sort of any time that I am cooking for my family, I try to make sure that okay. Okay, so this is what we're after here. Again, so it looks like a lot of char. So this one's done. I'm going to go ahead and put it back on the plate. That one's done. That one's done. We could still go a little bit more on that one. Now I'm tossing it. Still need more on that one. That one's that one's getting pretty close. More on that one. This one's very close, and we definitely need more on that one. But again, sort of going back to sort of so again, sort of like going back to like the story though. So anytime that I am cooking for family, like her friends, and like and they're coming over here, I've learned that I have to start like pretty early, like sort of like in like in sometimes sometimes sort of straight after lunch. But again, uh, again, typically it's like the things that I cook, they do take a bit longer to make, and there's definitely been times where I've cooked for others, and something isn't quite done. Oh, okay, so that one's done. But there's definitely been times when sort of like the guests arrive, and everything's not quite done yet, so I have to like make drinks, sort of keep them happy, sort of keep them entertained while I'm finishing. And there's definitely been some times that you could tell that sort of their patience was getting short. So again, uh, it's like again, if I ever do have the opportunity to cook for you guys, just know that like it might take a little bit longer, but the quality is definitely worth the wait. That's charcoal for you, I guess. Yeah, yeah, sort of. Yeah, so again, some like the whole sort of appeal. Okay, so this one's pretty much done. So the whole sort of appeal to charcoal is that it tastes better than gas or propane. Yes, it does take longer to get started and sort of started started like and sort of get sort of going. So that's why, like, I would typically start this going here, um, like about like 30 minutes before I start here. Um, so anyway, hey, how's it going? Oh yeah, sure, go for it. Because my buddy, yeah, another crazy golfer. Oh, okay, yeah. Do you mind? You already said no. So. Oh, okay, yeah. It's just I got this like. Sure. Yeah. What are you cooking? So I'm doing a steak and chimichurri sauce. But again, so what I'm doing first is I'm charring the red peppers, and then I'm going to throw the red peppers into just like this cover right here. So what happens when you put this in here is it will kind of release the skin from the actual peppers, and then this well, it does go a little bit more, but again, so the idea is it'll seal a lot of flavor. It will sort of seal in the flavor, but it will also sort of make it so that like the skin is easier to peel off So the idea is you just want it's like a smokier pepper, but you don't necessarily want like the char because yeah, exactly.
The char. Okay,
Yeah.
You want the smoky, but not the char.
Exactly. So that one's actually pretty much done. So what we can do is we're going to take this over here, and I'm going to immediately seal these in here. Now, there's also cilantro, there's parsley, I have a red pepper, chilies, all that. And so the sauce is sort of a Brazilian sauce. So it has spice in it, like there's a lot of, but there's some, there's some, there's some sort of olive oil, as well as there's a red wine in there as well. But what I'll do now is just put all that in there, and then I will probably leave that in there for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and then I will peel them, take them off, and then sort of finely dice. With some, so that's some.
And so the rest of the veggies, like the onion and what, are you cooking some of them?
No. So this is going to be finely diced and sort of put into here.
Okay.
After sort of everything sort of gets chopped up. But then here's sort of like a side show. So this is not the steak that you guys.
No, I could tell.
But
I saw what they were.
Yeah, definitely. But again, so this is like a nicely marbled New York strip.
You like the strip, don't you?
The strip, honestly, I feel like the strip is probably kind of the best of both worlds because okay, so it's like a ribeye is going to be like tastier, like it definitely has like more fat content, but it's more sort of like the intramuscular fat, like sort of like sort of what you see here sort of on the side. So like the intramuscular fat is what you have actually inside, and so again, I mean, this fat is sort of on the inside, like it's better to move.
That's thicker than what the other ones.
Exactly.
No, I like that's marbled very nice.
Yeah.
I like the New York also, probably for the same reason you do. Not as technical as you're describing it.
Right.
But Deb is filet.
And
so but I really like the extra. But I'm not much on the extra fat you get in the other one.
I agree.
Yeah. So it's the in between.
Yes. Yeah. It's a sort of like a great sort of an in between steak. Now there's also like a cut called the Denver steak, and it's actually very similar. It's like a New York strip, but you don't see them a lot around here. Like they're pretty hard to get. But think of like a more trimmed up version of the New York strip. Like you don't have like that big piece of fat there. I mean, it's purely just the meat and sort of like intermuscular fat.
Okay. So, but just out of curiosity, with this, I cut Deb's movie off in the middle. I paused.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So she's sitting there on the couch.
Yeah.
But your pepper, and then is it all getting mixed?
Yes.
And is it doing something with the steak, or is it a side?
Well, okay. So this goes on after the steak is actually cooked. Because this isn't necessarily like a marinade. But you could do it that way, sure. But again, this is a sauce that goes sort of on top after you cook it.
Okay. So you're gonna, after you cook your steak, the cilantro, what you're doing with the cilantro, onion, lemon, and pepper.
Yeah.
It is going to go onto the steak.
It will.
Yeah.
It will. Correct.
And of course your
the peppers as well. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
You're the man.
Yeah, I'm the man. That's right.
Tell you what.
All right.
So you're having fun, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
Hey, I am from Oklahoma, so I'm a Sooner. That's where all my relatives are. So next week,
that's right. We play together.
I'm finally sort of in the SEC.
Yes.
But not really yet. But I mean, because I didn't go there.
Right.
I'm not a Sooner college grad.
I got it.
I am a Utah University The youth's been pretty
the
good.
youths, yeah.
Until they come and face real football.
Yes, exactly.
But they can pretend through the season.
Yes, they can. Yeah, I mean,
That's where I graduated.
I got you. Well, I mean, the game next weekend will definitely be a good game.
Yeah, you're gonna start your real season. I feel there.
Next,
Although North Carolina State was for real ACC
they were.
for real competitive.
Yeah, they were.
So you guys look good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but anyway.
All right.
I got the picture. Enjoy. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Boy, always good to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, see you later.
Have a good one. All right, guys. So yeah, yes. I mean, I did have a neighbor sort of stop by, because again, I mean, I kind of like share like a green space between sort of my patio and against like the other neighbors here. So it's like they're always smelling sort of like things like I'm cooking and whatnot, and so they're interested, right? But so sometimes I might have some neighbors sort of join the stream. But anyway, let's go ahead and read some of the comments here. That's while he was here. So that was Stan, by the way. So Stan might sort of come back like in future streams too. But Mr. Tutor, you know, against or no steak for your neighbor. Even teaching the neighbors, yeah, that's right, Jen. This neighbor better super chat and upvote. Yeah, Stan. Sort of where's the support? Where's the money, right? But anyway, this is now good enough for the steak here. But again, what I want to do first is finish the sauce here, and then we'll get to the steak, and then we'll put the sauce on the steak, right? So we're gonna prep the rest of this now, while we. So this is where the peppers are. Again, they're getting nice and steamy in there, and again, the purpose is the sort of like the skin will sort of easily peel off, and then we can finally dice these and kind of put it in with the onion and like the chili, like and whatnot. But anyway, so let's go ahead and finish up what we have here. So this is sort of freshly cut oregano. So I have like an herb garden back here, and so I figure this is a really good opportunity to use some of that. So one downside of this part is you kind of have to painstakingly pick off all the leaves. Like you could do something like that, sort of what I just did, but you don't always get all the leaves off. So I'm just going to manually sort of pick them off, and then toss the stems back in here. And also, oh shoot, just put some into where I didn't mean to, but oh well. So also, you guys might actually hear some airplanes from time to time. I'm in the sort of a direct flight path from like the Nashville airport, and it's about 25-30 minute drive from here. But they do fly directly over me, so that is sort of one sort of minor downside, I guess. But oh well. Right? So again, if you hear the plane, sorry. But there's lots of other sort of noisy sort of distractions, I guess, like the AC and whatnot. Now, if I actually had a house that was sort of out in the country, like I had no neighbors, then we really wouldn't hear any of this. But I like where I live. There's definitely seems like there's definitely a lot of nice neighbors. The townhome is really nice. So again, I can't really complain. So one thing that you guys haven't actually heard yet is I live very close to a train track too. So I would say about 80 to 90 yards away from me right now is a train track. So I don't think that's happened yet in a stream. I don't think a train has, come by, but that might happen as well. So just kind of be prepared for that. Um, we're almost done with this oregano here. So again, just kind of manually having to pick those off. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that like the people like OC and like and even a Diego are watching me pick these individual leaves right now and thinking, what the fuck, Logan? Why would you spend all this time picking leaves off of a stem when you could just use dried oregano, from the store? It costs like $1.29, Logan. You're insane. But if you have the fresh stuff, like this is going to be the best tasting stuff. Again, I do all this extensive, longer process stuff because it ultimately leads to a better tasting product. Um, now, again, I do have the advantage of like I guess like being single. If I was married, like, again, I'm sure that like my wife would be like, Jesus Christ, like this guy spends so much time cooking and he's fucking picking his leaves off his stem and man, he's insane. And I get it. I get it. I am a crazy guy, but there's definitely a passion for the food and sort of it being the best thing you can possibly taste, right? Um, so again, we're almost done here. I think that was the 400th leave, 401, 402. No, I wasn't actually keeping count. I'm not that crazy. Uh, but hey, maybe one day I might be that crazy. I don't know. And the last leaf is done. So this is what we're left with. Let's take a quick, yeah. So there's the fresh oregano. Let me just make sure that still looks good. Yep. So, guys, when you are, having sort of like a a veggie heavy dish, like a lot of herbs and whatnot, it pays to get your knives sharpened. Um, of course, you can do this yourself. Um, and that's what I typically do. I mean, I do sharpen my own knives with like a whetstone. But again, a sharp knife is a safe knife. A dull knife is not safe. That might sound a little bit weird, but again, if you're using a dull knife, the chances of like the knife sort of like slipping off and like catching your sort of finger is increased when you have a dull knife. So again, I would urge everybody to work with sharp knives. So I'm gonna get this down to a really nice, you know. Uh, actually, you know what? Let's just bring the chair around because again, I'm gonna be chopping for a while here. For not necessarily chopping this for a while, but chopping a lot of veggies and whatnot, like an herbs for a while. Unfortunately, like this sort of table is shaking a little bit more than I anticipated, but that's all right. In case you are curious about the cutting board I use, it's a booze block. So again, a lot of professional chefs use booze block. It's a very trustworthy brand, sort of a storied brand and whatnot. So, but again, that's what I like to use. I got this about 2 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago, and it still holds up really well. The main thing with getting a good quality cutting board is you have to season it every so often with like certain oils and whatnot. If you don't season it, it's going to dry out and it's going to fall apart pretty easily. So there's some previous cutting boards that I've had in the past. I didn't season them, and of course, they kind of fell apart after 2 or 3 years of use. But again, this one's still going strong. So if you're serious about cooking, I would recommend that you get a serious cutting board. Shout out to Booze Block. Booze Block, please consider sponsoring me. I would consider, or I would greatly appreciate a sponsor. Um, Shout out to Booze Block. All right, so this is pretty much where I want it. We could actually just go a little bit more. When you're scraping against the cutting board, or when you're using your knife to, here, let me kind of come this way a little bit. So that's probably like a slightly better view. But again, use the back of your knife, because if you were to do this, then that's going to dull the knife on the sort of the sharp side, right? So when you're using your knife, well, okay, so that was a bad example because I just did what I said not to do. But try to use the back of your knife when you're kind of scraping things together. So let's go ahead and get all this stuff out here. There's a bit of water collected from it resting there, but let's go ahead and put all the oregano into the bowl. All right, so that's what we have so far. Let me just make sure that this is still a good sort of angle for you guys. Yeah, let's do this. Let's actually move this around here. I think that'll actually be a better view as I chop here. The steak has been sitting out now for a little over an hour. I don't want it to get like too unsafe, like I can have it stay out like too long. I'm actually going to pop this back in the fridge and I'll bring it out like maybe like 5 or 10 minutes before I actually put it on. So let me go put this away real quick. Another thing I'll do actually is just actually plug my phone into the charger since it's actually pretty close to the charger. I try to keep a charger sort of outside for when I'm having smoke out here, or when I'm grilling, right? Because streaming definitely has a toll um, on your battery life and whatnot. Um, so like I could do the same thing here that I did earlier and like really like take off all the leaves and all that, but I've got a shit ton of leaves here, guys. So I'm just going to cut off where the stem mostly ends, and then we're going to essentially do some large chops first. Start out big, and then again, as the pieces get smaller, we'll do a bit of a finer chop. And by the way, Curly, if you're watching, I hope you enjoy the prep being outdoors. I know that was your main sort of a critique when you, like, I'm trying to think, what was the last stream that you did a review of me on? It was, I mean, it might have been the chicken thighs. I can't remember honestly, but again, I'm doing the prep out here, but the lighting is actually better out here anyway. So I mean, I think that was a good take there. So thank you for the advice, Curly. By the way, if you're watching this on Saturday, Curly is having his Boothang date with Toyota Mo tonight. Shout out to Toyota Mo. So definitely go check that out. Curly is honestly the best like evening evening sort of like the entertainment, honestly. If you are in the Archieverse, I think he does a lot of good, analysis and a lot of fun commentary around Tim and around Machine and all that. Um, Again, I mean, a lot of you know that I kind of separated from Tim several months back now. Um, Again, I'm not saying that I want to see sort of anything bad out of Tim. Really, Tim has actually been doing really good uh, with his sort of new cast. He's got a new panel. He's got new casts and whatnot. You know what? And yeah, I mean, some like his numbers are up. The super chaps are up. So again, I I don't think that was something that a lot of us expected. I think once the once the A team kind of left, um, I think several people thought, you know what, Tim's not going to do all that great. But no, he's definitely doing well still. So again, this is pretty much the consistency of sort of the chopping here, sort of what we want. Um, so I'll go ahead and put that in the bowl here. But yeah, Tim is doing well. I mean, he doesn't necessarily uh, need us anymore. But hey, that's fine. That's why we have the colony. Um, and we have our own little group here. Um, but anyway, let's go back uh, to chopping here. Put that over there. I'm actually going to stand up in this because let's just do a lot of rough chops. Let's get this into a manageable size here. If you have any comments, Brian Singer, hey, thank you for your support, brother. I definitely appreciate that. I'm just trying to get a good angle here. Um, so again, there's a lot of herbs here. Again, some like the sauce is like a very herb heavy sauce. Um, so, but that's a really good sauce. Again, this is sort of a sort of nice sort of a refreshing sauce. Um, it's not like a heavy sauce, like a Béarnaise sauce or like a red wine sauce. This is very much just a nice sort of like pop of flavor sauce, a very sort of light sauce, and you can sort of very light, right? Um, so you guys might be wondering, like, are you having any side dishes with this? Well, uh, you know what I'm just really going this sort of like a steak and fries route tonight. Um, I'm not doing my own fries this time around. I definitely have done my own fries, but the way that I like to do it requires some specialty oil. So I found that duck fat is the best thing to um, fry fries in, but it's a bit pricey, right? So I kind of just keep 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 the homemade fries to special occasions. Um, and plus, like the best fries are going to be double boiled, meaning you're going to start out with a lower temperature, maybe 325 uh, to 350, and you're going to parboil those for like a few minutes, right? But then that's how you get sort of like the fluffy inside. To get the crunchy outside, um, you need to essentially do a second boil at a higher temperature. So maybe closer like to 400 or maybe sort of 425. But again, the best fries, you do a parboil one day, and then you actually freeze the fries overnight. Then you do the second fry the next day, because again, it's like the freezing. So what that does is it um, actually makes the kind of like a structure better. So if you ever go to like a really good steakhouse, like that's typically how they'll do it. They'll do a double fry, start at like a lower temperature, freeze the fries, then refry the fries at a higher temperature the next day. Again, that's a very long process, and again, so I'm not saying that like I wouldn't do that, but I would just need to do that on a weekend that I literally have nothing going on, um, and again, sort of dedicate time to that sort of process. Um, so I think we are good on the parsley here. Yeah, I think that was everything actually that I had of parsley. Um, so again, so that's a lot of parsley. Let's move on to the cilantro now. Oh, you know what? I actually had more parsley, but I think honestly, I think I'm good on the parsley. To be honest, so let's go to the cilantro now. Now, cilantro is kind of interesting. A lot of people, well, okay, so not a lot of people, but some people um, have expressed that when they taste cilantro, it tastes like soap. Um, Thankfully, I'm not one of those people because cilantro is a really nice herb. And if I thought it tasted like soap, I would be very, very sad and very disappointed. But thankfully, my taste buds were good to me, and I think it tastes great. So, and just trying to get any major stems out of here, um, but we're not having to really be super super fine or sort of super super sort of a particular here. There's a little bit more parsley. I guess I'll include that. So I think that's going to be about it in terms of the herbs. Again, a big stem there. We don't want the stems. Again, like we're not saying that like the stems are like bad necessarily, but they just give a different flavor, and it may not be a flavor that you necessarily want. Um, so that's why you don't typically use the stems all that much. But again, so this is the cilantro and a little bit left of the parsley. Um, One thing I want to check just real quick is just to make sure that the charcoal is still hot. So we still have a good amount of charcoal left. I started at, let's see, we're at an hour and 4 minutes right now. So I started the charcoal about an hour and a half ago, and you know what? I'll stand up again. I started that about like an hour and a half ago, and was a little concerned how long that would last. But I think that will still last us for when the steak gets cooked. Um, so again, we're starting out with a lot of just big rough chops, and then we'll get finer. Okay, so how many do we still have in the chat, guys? If you're still here, let me know. Drop a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think I'm insane for dedicating all this time to making a sauce that I could easily pick up from the grocery store? Or are you in my camp? Are you in the crazy camp that agrees that putting in time and effort to making something yourself ends up tasting better? Let me know. Do we have any football fans in the chat? Again, Saturday in the fall is a big football day for a lot of fans. Of course, there's also sort of it's like the NFL on Sundays. But I mean, again, I like both, but I definitely feel like college football is more exciting and more fun. Now, when they introduced the NIL deals a couple of years back, I thought, I mean, again, I wasn't a huge fan of it, only because I think it takes away from the spirit of the sport a little bit. The players are now incentivized to play for the money and not necessarily for the love of the sport. Now, again, that's a sort of pretty like sweeping thing to say. And again, not all the student athletes sort of feel that way, but that's personally how I feel about it. I definitely think there's still love for the sport. Again, like they probably wouldn't do it if they didn't love what they were doing. But I think sort of the NIL deals just kind of changed the dynamic a little bit. Now you could argue like, hey, if this guy is like really talented, and he gets some sort of deal for like $1 million, hey, that sort of pays well. Obviously, they're going to be on sort of a scholarship, right? Like they already had their like their funding, and I think it's like the board and sort of tuition sort of paid for, right? But maybe their parents need a new house, and you know what, again, that's fine. Sort of more power to them. I think with the introduction of like all these sort of deals, they definitely get a leg up sort of after they get out of college. And they can use that for investing or savings or whatever, or again, treat themselves to something nice. But again, I think when you play for money, again, instead of sort of like the passion for the sport, I think it kind of takes away something from it. But again, that's just my thought. Now, again, the NFL is purely for money, right? That is their job. So that's different, and I don't think the NFL is as fun to watch because of that reason. So, but again, I still watch it. Like it's still fun. Like I'm not like totally against it or anything, but again, I just think it changes the overall sort of like thoughts and sort of the dynamics of it. This is pretty much good to go in. So let's get all that off and start to put that in. Okay. So there is all of our herbs. Again, finely chopped. Let's see. Am I still in the show? Yes, I'm still in the show. I never knew I would enjoy watching someone chop parsley for over 90 minutes. Yeah, you know what, OC? I definitely knew that that you would be in your. oh my gosh, Logan's insane phase by now. But hey, you now know how much effort I put uh, into all this, and um, and it's definitely a passion thing. Um, obviously, I mean, I wouldn't be doing this if I wasn't passionate about food. But again, this is what I like to do. Uh, but again, I definitely realize that um, this is not for the faint of heart. Again, a lot of you guys have families, you have lives, you have girlfriends. I don't have any of that. It's just me and cooking. So what I'm doing now is there's a chili pepper here. Shout out to Flea and all the other red hot chili peppers. But anyway, um, I didn't do the charring treatment here for this, just because it's really small, and I think uh, like the whole charring uh, pepper thing makes more sense when you have a larger surface area, I feel. But again, it's still good to have this in there. So um, again, I'm trying to use the claw method here. Um, just the idea of you tucking your fingers back into your palm, so that when you're cutting, you don't chop your fingers off. Right? So let's move on um, to the onion now. So you might see people chop off both ends of the onion. I like to keep the root on, because if you chop up or chop off both ends, you kind of like, it starts to sort of unfurl a little bit, and like that's sort of like the backbone of the onion. So if you don't have a backbone, um, it's going to kind of fall apart a little bit. But so what we'll do, you know what? Let me actually. Um, I want to see if I can get a good angle of this. Let me. So onion chopping. Let's talk about onions for a moment. Um, yeah. Okay. So that's a pretty good angle, right? Um, Here. You know what? Let's do it like this. So with an onion, right? Again, I want this to be very fine. So you kind of want to cut. Um, so you kind of want to cut at the angle that the strands are kind of running, right. So again, I started out like this, and my goal is to kind of just keep that motion throughout. Um, but again, I'm going to try to cut several like that, and then we're going to do a few layers like this. Right. And then again, you guys can't really see this because I'm doing this from the other side, but you know what? Like, maybe I can move it around. Yeah, here we go. That's better. Um, so again, this is coming out super fine, and that's what we want. I'm just going to chop this up. See, again, super fine pieces. So you don't want like huge chunks in there, but again, let's just do one more rough chop to get all that. All right. So OC, we have moved on from the parsley now. So we're now going to spend 90 minutes on the onion. So we're about 5 minutes into the onion. And we have 85 more minutes to go on the onion. Just make sure you guys upvote for the longest onion chops, the longest parsley chops. Not really in the watch community, but ever. I am I'm definitely setting new records here. Maybe not necessarily in a good way, right? But oops, slipped up. Uh, again, I'm kind of angling this kind of back and forth like that. And then let's get a few cuts. Okay, and then okay. Again, nice fine dice here. Let's just do a couple. Whoop, didn't mean to hit you guys. Sorry. All right. I'm probably not going to use all of that honestly because it's already a pretty good amount there. Now I'm debating whether I use green onions in here. Um, yeah, you know what? I'm probably going to skip these honestly um, because we already have a lot of onion in there. Let's see. Any more comments? No. Okay. For those of you still watching, after hours worth of onion chopping, please remember to upvote and subscribe if you have not already done so. So, if you remember back 3 hours ago, I did a char on the bell pepper. And what I'm doing now is I'm just getting all the charred skin off. That's pretty good. I mean, again, you don't have to try to get like all of it off, but again, let's just get most of it off. So I'm now chopping this into fine strips. Let's turn it sideways and again do some fine dicing there. So you might be asking, like, hey, like, why did you do chilies and red pepper? The red pepper, I guess, is more for like body, and the red chili pepper is more for heat. Um, so again, because we put the uh, the peppers in sort of that container, the skin kind of naturally sort of takes off or sort of separates itself from the from from again sort of more like the meat of the pepper. Um, so let's just do the same thing here. We got most of that off. We did that slice, and again, just nice small cuts. I think I'll do one more sort of slice of pepper. I probably didn't need the whole two of them in there, but oh well. So let's take that off. Again, you're not trying to get all of it off, but um, if you can, great. But you don't necessarily have to shoot for that, I guess. So again, fine cuts. Turn it the other way. Let's chop that up a little bit more. Okie doke. I'm gonna wash off my hands real quick, and then we'll do more of the liquid parts. Actually, you know what? We still need to do the garlic. Uh, I'll wash my hands after the garlic. Um, so let's get a few cloves. There we go. So let's pick out a few cloves here. And toss that away. Again, all the paper, sort of paper outer parts. You don't necessarily need that. Let's get like 3 or 4 decent size cloves, or you know what, 5. Uh, um, so okay, so we're done with the pepper. Now let's do garlic. All right, that's a pretty good angle. Um, so with garlic, I like to cut off both ends. Let's clean up the knife a little bit, and then you sort of the flat part of your knife to crush it a little bit, and you're going to get what you actually want. So if you ever see this sort of part of the garlic, you can take that out. So that's sort of like where the seed is starting to form, and that's going to be bitter. Again, not a super, or again, sort of not something that you absolutely have to do, but if you see the opportunity to sort of take that out, then you should. Yep. So let's see how we're doing on this one. All right. So yeah. Okay. So you see that that's sort of like the inner part. Sorry, my hands are a little bit slippery. So I got most of that out, but again, you don't necessarily have to get all of it out. Um, so let's crush this one. Yeah, so that one's fine. Um, 1 or 2 more here. As we're now entering hour 7 of garlic chopping. So hope you've enjoyed all the garlic chopping to date. This will actually be a 3-day stream, guys. I don't know if I mentioned that when I first started the stream, but yeah, but again, so this is only day 1. No, no. Again, thank you everybody for your patience. I do tend to take my time when I cook, um, just because I mean, cooking is very sort of enjoyable to me. Like it's very sort of therapeutic. It's very sort of relaxing and whatnot. So again, I like to take my time with it, but typically I do speed things up um, when I'm cooking for others. Um, but again, I just kind of go at my own pace when I'm on my own. Um, so every time that I've cooked for a girlfriend, uh, they they have always been a little bit sort of I'm impatient with me, uh, and like again, I try to start cooking earlier in the day so that they're not waiting around um, when it is actually time to eat. But there's definitely been some cases where they were not appreciative of all the extra time, despite it tasting amazing. So that is one downside. But One trick, guys, kind of a pro chef tip here: sprinkle a little bit of salt um, when you chop your garlic here, um, because essentially you can kind of almost make it into a paste to get like a really fine chop on it. Um, but yeah, just a pro tip right there. And again, you can kind of run that along your knife there. So guys, which hour has been your favorite so far? Leave a comment. Okay, I think that garlic is pretty good. So put that in the final product here. Now, let's see. Are we still in the show? We are still in the show. Nice. We haven't dropped out today, guys. So that's been awesome. This is why I just show the finished product. Yeah, yeah, Luta. You're definitely uh, you're definitely doing the smart thing here, and you're showing the finished product here, and not all the again some like you don't necessarily show how the sausage is made, right? Um, but again, I feel like some people might appreciate this and might like this. Um, so that's what I do. I do these streams to show others how I cook, and maybe you will learn something from it. So earlier, you saw me get the fork out. Now this is why I use the fork. Um, it's a great way to get juice out of a lemon and or lime. The only thing is you have to be careful, and you have to make sure you didn't get any seeds in there. I don't see any seeds, um, but again, that's good. Um, if you can pick out the seeds ahead of time, great. Even better. But this is the best way that I know uh, to get the juice out easily um, from a lemon and or lime. So we're going to do the same thing with the lime. Thankfully, there's no seeds in the lime, so it makes it much easier. Some of the, all right, let's put that there. All right. So you know what? But before we put the other stuff in, I'm gonna go grab the steak and let it sit out just a little bit more, just to get back up to room temperature. So I will be right back. Okay. Here's the steak, and I also got a bit of foil that will wrap this in afterwards, and I got a pat of butter too. So what I typically like to do is when the steak is done, I'll kind of put the pat of butter in here, wrap it up, and then I'll kind of like flip it over so that the butter is melting, downward, right? So pretty much getting ready, or again, getting close to the actual steak grilling part. which is, you know, you can the shortest part. But again, the main reason why this stream has been a bit longer is because of this sauce, the chimichurri sauce. Um, so let's now add in olive oil. So let's just start with that glug. Again, I mean, I'm doing sort of everything by look and feel. Um, Eventually, you get to that point where it doesn't necessarily have to be by measurements. Now, if you're baking, of course, baking is a completely different game. And that's when you need to be exact down to the gram. I typically use a scale when I bake. Again, I mean, I don't bake a lot. Um, I kind of started baking when about 3 girlfriends ago. She was really big into baking, and she got me into it, and so I learned several recipes. Sorry, this okay. It's like my hand is actually very slimy from, or again, sort of wet from all the chopping here. I'm gonna go open this here, um, sort of inside real quick. All right, so this is some red wine vinegar. We're gonna just do another glug like that. Again, we don't have to be exact here, but I guess since we have this fork out here, we can use that to start mixing this around here. You know what? One thing I forgot: add some salt and freshly ground black pepper. I think we'll need a bit more of both the olive oil and the red wine vinegar. So this should be, again, like a sauce. It should be a little bit sort of viscous, right? Um, so, so let's taste it. Wow, very good. It's a little too bright with maybe just a little too much red wine vinegar. So I'm going to put just a bit more of that olive oil in to kind of balance that out. Now it's probably a little heavy on the salt there, but that's okay. Better. Yeah, just a little bit more. Then I think we can call this done. Kind of angle this down so that you guys can see it too. I probably could have done the pepper a little bit more finely in terms of the cutting, but that's okay. So I think this is pretty much ready. Yep. Yeah, that's good. Maybe just another touch. Maybe a little bit more pepper. A little bit more salt. Yep, that's perfect. Okay. Awesome. So we're pretty much ready for the grilling part. So let's see if the fire held up, or whether I need to add more. You know what? So those are still nice and hot. Do you follow a strict clean as you go policy? No. I mean, not always. No. When I'm cooking inside, I do, but for outside, it's a little bit tougher to do that. So uh, so again, sometimes, but not always. Let me get a good angle here. Oh. So let me go get one more thing, and then we'll go ahead and get started on the steak. All right, guys, hour 17. It's time for the steak, the part that you guys have all been waiting for. So um, let's get on our gloves. And I've also got questions about, again, um, when do you season the steak? Do you season after? Do you season before? Um, so just to bring the steak back in the frame. So I did a dry brine of this in salt overnight. Again, but didn't cover the whole thing with salt. Just sort of sort of covered it like in salt a little bit, um, and then I let it sort of sit out for about an hour earlier on. I put it back in just because I didn't want it to sit out for too long. But it's been out for about 5 minutes now from the fridge after previously being out for a bit. But again, because it already has salt in it now, actually here let me first sort of speak to why I did the dry brine first. So again, the dry brine is when you kind of season it to essentially. So salt works in such a way that when you apply it to a steak or sort of any kind of, I guess, like a red meat, um, it will kind of latch onto this like the juices sort of overnight, but then it's gonna like put those juices, like infuse it back into the steak, so that it's a bit more beefy, and it just overall sort of tastes better. So again, that is only with salt. Before I actually put this on, I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of pepper on each side, and then we'll grill it. So I'm actually gonna take off one of these gloves. Um, so I also get asked, how much do you put of salt and or pepper? It depends on how thick the steak is. If you're working with a thin steak like this, you don't need too much. Uh, if you put a lot on there, it's going to overpower it. But if you're working with a thicker steak, you can put more on. Um, so so again, we're all seasoned up now. I'm just going to hit this with a little bit of pan. All right. Now, what I'll do first is let me grab my tongs. So again, so what I do first, because the strip has a nice, nice sort of fat here, sort of on the side, I'm gonna first sort of stand it up on the grate so that the fat kind of greases the grates a little bit. So let's do that first. Okay, so what I'm doing now is as the fat renders, I'm kind of just dragging it, dragging it sort of, doing sort of from across the grates. um, so that the grates get sort of looped up with the fat rendering. You know, and I just realized that you guys can't really see that. Sorry. Um, let's put you guys over here. The grill temp. That's a great question, Johnny. So I believe so. So this temperature gauge up top here is not truly accurate. I actually need to do some slight some slight adjustments actually to get it right. But typically, when I'm doing it's like a hard sear like this. What I typically do is I try to get it up to like at least 600, maybe 700. Um, some like so currently sort of it's like the ambient temperature is really like not even close to that. Like it's probably closer to like the 300 or 400. But again, when I'm well, again, like the temperature at the grates is closer like to like that 600 like the 700 figure. But again, so now that we have greased it up, we're going to go ahead and uh, lay it down there. Again, this isn't quite as hot as I would normally have it. Again, because I spent 12 hours chopping here. It's like this definitely did go down in the temp. But again, uh, going back to grilling thin steaks here, the idea is um, you want to essentially grill it, uh, grill it, sort of hot and fast on sort of both sides, and then you basically sort of pull it off after that, because this with the carryover heat will essentially finish the cooking for you. Um, Now again, sort of like a thicker steak, you would essentially do sort of like the two zone cooking, sort of like the hot and cold side. But again, because this is a thin steak, um, you're really only worried about sort of how it looks on the outside, and then you can pull it off, wrap it, and then like the resting will actually cook the internals for you. So let's go ahead and look at how this looks. So that's sorry. So that's getting closer to what I want, but again, not sort of fully what I want. I might go back actually, and I might actually do like a 45-degree angle on just like the other side as well too. But again, so let's give this like another maybe minute, and then we'll check the other side to see how that looks. I have a mixed foreign bake taken and posted photos of and eaten my meatloaf. Yeah. During the time that it took me to do the stream, yes, totally, Mark. I hear you. No, I mean, again, so sort of all the great things that I cook. Again, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of love, but that's what makes it taste good, right? So let's see how this is looking on this side. Again, um, that's sort of getting closer to what I want. Um, but again, we're going to turn that, and we're going to get sort of like that. That's sort of like that crosshatch look. Again, 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 I definitely would have liked for this to be a bit hotter. Um, but again, so we're just going to use sort of what we have here. So let's give that another maybe 30 seconds or so, and then we'll flip that back around, um, and then we'll see sort of how that other side looks. Uh, just teasing, I'm enjoying this soon. Yeah, of course, Mark. But anyway, let's see how this side looks. Okay, good. So we're getting sort of like those sort of nice sort of cross hatched marks here. There's still a bit of gray sort of in like the middle there. And I definitely would like to get some of that out, or again, sort of cook through some of that. Um, but what I want to do now actually is I'm going to put you guys back like this. Um, I'm curious how how much it's already been cooked internally. So we're about like 85 right now. Um, yeah, so this can be definitely hotter. I definitely should have made this a little bit harder because again, the idea of sort of like the hot and fast for a thinner steak is you're focusing on the outer sort of like the outer sort of looks, and again, any sort of carryover heat is going to cook the internals for you. But let's flip that over. Again, sort of not looking as good as I wanted. I just think things like definitely like a hotter grill would have given me sort of the results that like I wanted. But hey, that's fine. You know, like we can't sort of have sort of all winners. So this will still be a good steak, right? But again, we'll just kind of work with what we have. And again, so, you know, like the star of the show today is going to be the sauce, right? Um, so that's what we're focused on, and that's what we ultimately want. Um, so let's take another temp reading here. Looking at about 100 now. So what I'll do is when this hits, here, let me position you guys about there. Sorry that it's still a little bit far away, but once we hit about 125, like 125, 127, I'll pull this off. We're going to wrap it in the foil and like the butter, and then we're going to let it sort of come up to temperature then. But so let's just keep on flipping. Still got a little bit of gray in there, but that's okay. So let's talk about this. When you're cooking a steak, like, and maybe you don't have sort of all the experience with it like I have. Um, like if you know that your steak is not going well, how do you fix it? Well, instead of going for those grill marks, what I'm going for now is just a nice overall sort of browning on both sides. So again, so you get like the nice grill marks when you have really high heat. Again, this is probably only sitting at like close to like the 400. So again, not really sort of like the ideal sort of a searing range, but you can still get a good steak uh, just from sort of like a lower sear like this. But let's check the temperature now. It's probably gone up about 10 degrees. Still around that, it's like the 100 mark. So again, we're going to shoot for about 125 to 127 ish. Um, so that's what we got. It is getting a little dark. I'm actually going to turn on the overhead lights um, to essentially give this a bit more light. So I don't know if that really did anything much, but again, hopefully you guys can still see that. All right, so we are getting rid of some of that sort of that grayness, right? Again, a steak doesn't really look all that great when you have like nice sear marks, but it's kind of gray throughout. You want like the nice browning, but also the grill marks. Again, this isn't quite hot enough to really get the grill marks that I wanted, but again, what we're going for now is just an overall sort of nice sort of browning. on the outside. Let's check the temperature again. $110. So we're good. So the downside of this not being hot enough here is there is going to be some gray band when we do cut into this. And again, I personally prefer not to have any gray band. The way that you don't get any kind of gray band around the edges um, is to have a much hotter sear. And then you have a two-zone cooking where you focus one hot zone on just the sear, and then you have the colder zone. Or again, you know, so let's say that you're doing this on a propane grill. Maybe you would have 3 burners, and you set the right to cranked up all the way. You then have the leftmost burner off, and that is going to kind of serve as your cold zone. When you're done searing first, and like you're happy with how it looks on the outside, that's when you move it over to the cold side, and just gotta check the temperature every so often. Um, and again, if you're going for like a medium rare, typically pull it off 5 to 7 degrees under your target temperature. So again, medium rare is typically about 135. Um, but I do like a little bit more, like 136, 137 is kind of where I personally like it. Um, so let's flip that over again. So we are getting a better sort of more sort of a even sort of browning now. So that's kind of plan B. Okay, so we're sitting at about 120 here. So we're getting close to pulling this off, and I'm gonna plop this into some butter. Butter with the foil. So we'll give that a little bit longer. Check the temperature again. We're probably getting pretty close. Yeah, okay. So this is ready to be pulled off. So let's go ahead and grab a hold of that. So, okay, so I'll be right back. All right, guys, so we're done with the grill. Um, this is what we're left with. So this is what we have it wrapped up with. Again, there's some butter here on the top. That's going to just kind of nicely melt throughout. We have our chimichurri sauce. Let's go ahead and mix that a bit around again. And I will do a cut, just like a cross section shot, maybe after about 5 minutes or so. It's funny. Out of my 3 watches, I'm actually not wearing any of them that will do a timer for me. So I'll just kind of just use my own sort of gauge of time, and then we'll do the unwrapping, sort of like the unveiling. But again, in case you didn't see earlier, I'm wearing the date just. So I didn't have this on while I was grilling, but it was in my pocket though. So now that we're done grilling, I figured I would put it back on here. But anyway, so we'll give this a few minutes here, guys. While we're waiting for this to kind of get up to sort of the like the finishing temperature here, please be sure to upvote and like, leave a comment. Do you think these grilling streams suck? Do you prefer uh, shortened shortened streams, sort of, I guess, streams that are not 18 hours long? That is sort of definitely something that I can improve on, get sort of quicker with like the prep and sort of all that stuff. But again, while we wait here, please be sure to like, subscribe also, and leave a comment. You know, I'm actually quite quite glad actually that I wasn't kicked out of the show at all, this time around. Um, because that has been a problem on my last few streams. Like, I'll be like right there doing something, I'm in like the middle of the stream, then I get kicked out. Um, because I can't initiate the streams from my phone just yet. I do have to, actually start them from my desktop, and then let myself in on my phone, and so it's kind of a whole process. And but anyway, um, yeah. So that is the downside. Mark, thank you. Very informative, and love all the cool cooking gadgets. Yeah, yeah. I definitely think there's some gadgets worth having. Some are not worth having. That might be a good sort of topic one day to just kind of talk about what kitchen gadgets are worth buying, and which ones are total crap. Um, it's like, I know that like there's been plenty of like, sort of big name sort of, cooking sort of YouTubers that have done videos like that before. But I would say, here, let me go grab it. I definitely would say that, if you do grilling a lot, sort of not just steaks, but like with chicken, or pork, whatever. Definitely invest in a good sort of instant read a thermometer. So this is actually the so this is sort of like the Thermopin Pro. This is about $100, but it's incredibly quick. So one cool thing about it is, it's like it only turns on when you pull out the probe. When you don't use it, like, it just turns off. But again, it will turn on when you pull out the probe. And if you're trying to get a reading at like a weird angle, this will change sort of as you rotate here. Um, so that's again, so that's a really cool feature, especially when you're grilling in sort of awkward angles or whatever. But anyway, so again, this is the Thermopin one, I think. Again, about $100, but definitely it's like the best instant read probe that you can get, if you're serious about, again, grilling steaks, grilling chicken, like an even sort of indoor cooking as well. This is probably one of the best $100 that you could possibly spend. Um, but anyway, we're almost at that 5 minute mark here. I'm going to give it just another 30 seconds or so, and then we're going to slice it open and see how I did, despite not having the ideal conditions. Again, it would have been better to have, maybe 200 more degrees. But you know, uh, the, those coals were definitely sitting there, I guess, a bit longer. Or again, I definitely took a little bit longer to do all the chopping stuff than I anticipated. So again, the lifespan of those coals is not all that long. But let's pop this open here and see how we did. So the moment of truth, right? So again, it's not a bad looking steak. It's certainly not my best, but Not a bad looking steak. So let's slice it open and see how we did. Um, okay. Okay. Well, definitely not one of my better steaks. This is definitely a medium plus, I would say. Um, Again, probably the worst steak that I've done, to be honest. But again, I didn't have the ideal conditions. It wasn't it wasn't um, again not sort of the ideal conditions, but oh well, right? So let's do a bit of a taste, shall we? Um, so let's kind of get some of this on here. Again, a spoon would be better, but oh well. But let's get some of our sauce on and give it a try. So there we go. That's the sauce. I mean, it definitely looks prettier with like the with the sauce on. But let's go ahead and uh, give it a try. Wow, really good. Really, really good. Even with it being overcooked a little bit, still really good. Um, really tasty. So, guys, I think I will go ahead and call it here. I definitely do need to watch some football tonight. It's like my Tennessee Vols are playing right now. So, did I put olive oil in the sauce? Yes, I did. I used olive oil and then I used some red wine vinegar here as well. Um, but again, guys, thank you for sticking through all 18 hours of this. Again, 2 hours of this. And again, all your comments are greatly appreciated. If you could just do me one favor before you leave, hit the upvote button. Please do consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this in the future. And I will see you guys on the next stream. Peace out.